Ngowi TV, informed economists and business perspective.
So all protocols observed, and allow me to go direct to the presentation. It's on enhancing tax revenue in Tanzania, broadly speaking. But then I will zero in into an area that I think most of us have not been discussing. And it will be on taxation of digital economy, taxation in the environment, what I call the fourth industrial revolution. But then I'll give a little bit of background of what you can do in order to enhance revenue, generally speaking, and then come to this specific area, which I think most of us actually have not spoken a lot. And of course, my key should be mainly questions on whether we are ready to raise revenue in the environment that we are in now. Because when it comes to raising government revenue, both tax and untax, it depends on the environment where you are in. And this is really my focus. So the broad context, as it has been said from the morning when the guest of Hannah spoke, when CAG spoke and when Mzeuto was speaking to us, is we know for sure there is a need to finance public goods and services, health, education, security, etc., etc. Now, how do we do it? We do it mainly through public financing, through getting money from, to finance the budget, and normally from, tax mainly. But then the issue has been, as you've been seeing, we have never come at a point where we collect 100% of our tax revenue. We always have a gap. Sometimes if we are at 70, we are very lucky. 80, we are very lucky. So you could see the focus will be on tax. If you go through the various performance, you could see tax as one of the major sources of financing a government budget. For example, for this year, 2020, just the year that's coming actually tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, 2018-19, almost 57% of the money is expected to be coming from tax. And I'm saying maybe if we are to use effort to raise government revenue, we should put a lot of effort on the tax. Why? Because tax is more reliable than other sources, because the other sources will be issues like borrowing. When you borrow, there are a lot of issues. There are issues of, increase in national debt and the problems or rather challenges associated to paying the debt. There are issues, for example, when you raise money from domestic borrowing, you squeeze out the private sector. Now, the moment you squeeze out the private sector, which is supposed to be the engine of the growth, you still have a problem. When you depend on donor, there is problem. There are problem on conditionalities. There are problem of funds coming on time, etc., etc. In the development project that we have been seeing in Tanzania, or rather development budget, we have seen really poor performance, partly because of a poor release of development partners' money. And so I would say, if you have to enhance government revenue, to me, I would say, let's focus on tax. And then you could see, of course, when we are having more tax revenue, funding your public goods and services, it's good because the citizens have more power to hold the government into account. I've paid my tax, where's my water? I've paid my tax, where's my health? I've paid my tax, where's my road? So really, to me, I would say that is one of the better way of funding government revenue, through taxation. Because if we don't pay tax, we don't raise enough tax, and the government has to depend on donor, the government has to depend on development partners and the borrowing money, then government may be inclined to be more accountable to donors, more accountable to borrowers, to financial institutions, than being accountable to taxpayers. So I will skip quite a number of issues here, but then broadly speaking, we also, the things that I'll be speaking about have to do with the need to broaden the tax base, because we have really a narrow tax base. You could see a tax to GDP ratio in Tanzania is still very low, around 12%. Other countries are around 18. OECD countries have gone to the 30-something%. That is, of course, an outlier. But then broadening the tax base in quite a number of issues is very important. And of course, fixing what is broken in the fiscal space. We could speak volumes and volumes. I've just finished a 4 years research called the Taxation, Institution and Participation, Mzumbe University, in collaboration with the Christian Michelsen Institute of Norway. We did it in Tanzania, Zambia, and Angola. There are quite a number of issues. If we address them in the tax system, it can help to raise revenue. And in one way, they'll say, it takes us to saying, let us tax better than taxing more. Issues there like avoiding multiplicity of taxes. Studies have shown, Professor Oldfield study, Lucas Catera have shown, if you lower tax rate, you increase, a tax, compliance, tax payment. Issues of predictability of the fiscal regime. If I know for sure for the coming 10 years, even if the tax are high, so long as it's predictable, then we are likely to get more revenue. Issues of how we are going to use your tax money. Yes, I pay my tax, but I see my roads. I pay my tax, I see my education. I pay my tax, I see health. In this way, you are likely also to increase compliance, voluntary compliance, and so get more money. There are issues related to tax refunds. I know quite a number of captains and titans of industry who have issues with their tax money withheld with the authority. Sometimes I did some studies 2-3 years ago for one of organizations, the government holding my money. One organization will tell me for almost 22 months. This is the opportunity cost, because sometimes some people say, no problem, we'll pay you and pay you with interest. That's not the point. The point is opportunity cost of you holding my money for 22 months. You know how much more revenue I could have generated, how much more profit I could have generated, those kind of stuff. So really, within this, I think those are the normal issues. Now I want to go to an area which, in my view, we have not zeroed in so much. The question of taxing new sectors. Government could substantially raise its revenue by taxing new sectors and, of course, taxing it better. And I'm deriving this from mainly what I call the fourth industrial revolution, which I will zero in a lot. Before I go to that, for the past 3 years, 4 years, 5 years or so, we are so much occupied with the taxation of oil and gas economy. And we have said we have no capacity of taxing oil and gas economy. And Norwegian government, for example, has built a lot of capacity for TRA to tax oil and gas. We had a problem, and still we have a problem in my view, of taxing multinationals that are here. And there have been a lot of effort, for example, in the area of what you call transfer pricing, for example. Now, we have not solved those problems. Here comes a third big problem, a new sector that is coming in. Our economies are increasingly being digitalized. Now, when we are seeing digital economy in the form of what I call the fourth industrial revolution, which unfortunately, very few of us speak about those things. Even our leaders, very few speak about those things because it's something very new. Actually, something that started almost 2016, so I'm not surprised. It's something very new. Those of us who are a little bit in front in terms of knowledge, we have seen this as a problem because, as I'm going to show you, if we are not going to tax the economy, given where the world economy is now, we are going to lose more. So I'm more futuristic, actually. I'm trying to look at what the government should be doing in years to come in order to raise more government revenue. So I would say, broadly speaking, it's like you're talking about your taxation of digital economy. When we talk about this, some people say, no, it is not Tanzania yet. These are European things. No. Our economy has been highly digitalized now. For example, we are talking about what we call, financial, fourth industrial revolution technologies. We are seeing quite a number of technologies that are changing almost everything that we are doing and have quite a number of tax implication. Now, my key question that I'll be asking throughout, unfortunately I don't see TRA here, is on whether the taxman, TRA specifically, is ready to tax those new sectors. Because we may see economy booming, economy growing, we may see new sectors, but then we will be unable to get revenue if you don't understand the things that I'm going to cover here. Because what we are seeing quite a number of technologies that are disrupting almost everything. We are seeing these technologies, digital economy, for example, disrupting a lot of business models, disrupting a lot of, the way we do business. And I'll use quite a number of local examples that we know here, and just to pose a question on whether we are ready to tax those areas well. These technologies, for example, I'm talking about technology like in the transportation sector. Now, we no longer talk about the normal taxis. We are talking about Uber. We are talking about the Taxify. Now, if Mr. Taxman is trying to tax the normal taxi, while the model that is being used now is digital economy, I'm not sure the extent to which he or she can capture the revenue that is being generated through, let's say, using this app that are being used with Taxify. When it comes to accommodation, the model has changed. We are talking about property tax. It's okay. But then there are quite a number of houses out there which are no longer, they are generating a lot of money, but then the taxman is not seeing them because of what I call now, for example, this model we call Airbnb. The business of accommodation now, I can do quite a lot of accommodation without having hotels, actually. I was joking to my friends, maybe 2-3 years ago, we may not see this hotel, people come in and sleep this hotel as such. They may go and do Airbnb. And Airbnb, what you are doing is you have your property wherever it is, register into an app, and then you get visitors from Europe, from US, from wherever. And I've seen this, it's working. I see quite a number in Moshi, I see quite a number of places, etc., etc. I'm considering even register one of my property in Moshi to Airbnb. And I'm sure the TRA is not going to see the revenue there, So what I'm saying, because we want to get revenue, let us be aware of the technology and the way it is going to, to change all those kind of stuff. I'm skipping some issues here and maybe a little bit of introduction of what we mean by the fourth industrial revolution, so that we know exactly how it applies to question of revenue. So we are talking about the fourth industrial revolution, meaning that there have been 3 revolutions before now. For example, first we had the use of water and steam as technology that was used to power machines, etc., etc. The second revolution was on discovery and use of electricity for mass production. The third one was electronics, which is still actually the one that we are using now. But now, since the mid of 20th century, we are seeing now the fourth industrial revolution, and it has a lot of implication on revenue. It has a lot of implication on enhancing government revenue. If we don't get it correct, the economies will be growing, the economy will be digitalizing, industries will come, but then the government will not get revenue. And this is really my focus here. Although it is still relatively new, but then our economies are being digitalized a lot. And what we are seeing here is the technologies that are existing are being fused together. We are seeing what is called fusion of technology. And at this fusion of technology, the physical, digital, and biological spaces, are coming together. We'll be talking about robots, for example. People thought that, no, we are talking utopia, Professor. But then in Rwanda, only 1 month ago, we saw Sophia the robot from Saudi Arabia. It's a machine, it's talking, it's doing everything. You go to Asia now, news, China, I think, it's no longer people who are reading news. It's machines, it's robots, Are we ready to tax that mode? Jack Ma, this guy behind Alibaba, he has come up with a restaurant, I don't know the quite a number in China. You will never be saved by human beings. You'll be saved by robots. Now, in our tax system, are we ready to capture, those kind of stuff, When it comes to security, we are no longer going to see physical, Mr. Askari standing there physically. It's mainly automated. So all these things have a lot of implication when it comes to, to tax and tax issues. And my question is really whether the taxman is really ready to, to get revenue for the government in these new areas that has been changed a lot. Yeah, for example, here we see quite a number of professions have been changed, for example, and I've talked this a number of times. When we are talking about the future of jobs, due to these revolutions, due to technology, we are seeing new jobs, and actually some of these jobs do not have even names. So, Mr. Taxman, when you are going to tax, you will see people doing things that are not in your tax book. You cannot tax them. We are seeing, for example, they are calling coders, coding. The coding jobs are coming to the market. They are not yet in the taxman's job. We are seeing the robots. We had a huge debate now. We are seeing a number of professions that I do not need what they call a brick and mortar office. So you cannot see me anywhere. But then actually my phone can be my office generating millions and even billions. Mr. Taxman, you may not capture revenue if you don't know exactly, what I'm saying here. So here we are seeing, for example, there will be a number of implications, for example, of this technology when it comes to policies, for example, fiscal policy, laws and regulations in this area. As you have said, we are seeing these new business models where when it comes to taxation, I think we have rules, regulations, and policies. This is how you tax accommodation. This is how you tax transportation. This is how you tax this job. Now, when we are having jobs that do not have no names, jobs that are not in our books of taxation, really we are going to miss, those revenue. So what I'm trying to emphasize here, for example, in these new technologies, we are seeing a lot of blockchain and blockchain technology being used. A lot of transactions now are on the blockchain technology. KRA, meaning Kenya Revenue Authority, I think, is thinking of putting its tax system through blockchain. I don't think that we have, so later maybe we might have time to go into details. But then what we are saying here, under blockchain, it's a technology, very new technology, where a number of transactions are taking place there. And if you are not yourself in the blockchain, you cannot see those transactions, and so you cannot get revenue out of there. In Nigerian election last year, blockchain was among big issues. Quite a number of countries now are embracing, allowing, blockchain. We are seeing new currencies, crypto-based currencies, cryptocurrencies, for example. And the newest that came to the market, maybe a month or so, is Libra. Libra by Facebook. Facebook has not come with its own currency. Otherwise, we are used it to Bitcoins. We have been used it to, Ethereum. Now, if Mr. Taxman, you are taxing Tanzanian shillings, and people are moving from there's conventional currencies. They are going crypto. Can you capture that? Can you capture the crypto currencies? We see quite a number of transactions. I know they're around here. I know people buying and selling cryptos. So long as our tax system is not on these technologies already, we may be losing quite a number of revenue. And you can see I'm being more futuristic. You may say, yeah, we still have our normal transaction, our normal shillings, but then the speed with which this technology is going is very fast. If you listen to speech by Trudeau is the Prime Minister in Canada, he would say, we have never seen transformation taking place so fast, yet it will no longer be so slow. Things are changing very fast, very fast. So I would guess maybe within 2-3 years, maybe, the world, including Tanzania, may not be exactly the way we are seeing it today. Everything might have moved to blockchain. Our currencies might have gone to Bitcoins, might have gone to Ethereum, to Libra, etc. So here, Chair, what we are saying is all these new systems, structure, and products, the question is now, are they taxable items? Yeah, because, for example, under these systems and structure, for example, to use these business models like Uber, Taxify, Airbnb, cryptocurrency, etc., we are seeing again a lot of what I call digital marketplaces, digital currencies, digital wallets. So if you are used to tax the normal markets, people have moved the digital. So if the TRI, to use this example, cannot see the way the fourth industrial revolution has fundamentally changed the economy, we may not be able to capture the revenue that we are used there, or rather we are supposed there to be capturing. Here, for example, and all these things now are complementing, some are replacing, our normal systems. You could see, for example, banks, for example. When you're talking about the future of the bank, we are saying now banking today, due to the fourth industrial revolution technology, banking is no longer actually where you go. Banking is what you do. Now, if you used it to go to a physical bank, brick and mortar banks here at BNBC, and go and see the transactions there and tax them. Now, there are a lot of banking that is, I'm sure some of you when you're here, you have banked when you're here. You can pay your bills, you can pay whatever. Now, to what extent is the taxman capturing all these transactions and related, revenue? So, Chair, you could see I'm trying to go to relatively new area where I think if taxman, if they're right to use this example, is just taxing the traditional transactions, while people have moved it to digital wallets, people have moved it to digital spaces to do their transactions. It will be very difficult to capture this revenue. I understand due to these business models. For example, I don't need a physical store, for example, to do my business. Those who do buy through Jumia, for example, and I know my kids shop through Jumia, there is no physical warehouse as such, yeah, but transactions are taking place. You order something in the UK, it comes directed to your home. Is it captured? If you used it to capture it at the port, to say this is an import now, it has been imported, let me get my revenue. With this technology, it will be very difficult. It will be very difficult. So what I'm urging is, as we move ahead, it will be very good to know, to realize that now the world has gone digital, and so Mr. Taxman has also to move digital in order to be able to capture this revenue. Otherwise, we will keep on seeing revenue not being collected, although we know that the revenue is being generated a lot. So I'm skipping some issues. So now some key issues that I think we should ask and of course answer. Unfortunately, I don't see so much of TRA here, is to know whether Taxman, meaning TRA, is ready to transact, that is to tax in and within these new systems. I'm not sure yet the extent to which, for example, TRA is capturing the revenues that are taking place in Airbnb. I'm not sure. Zeuto, he has his house in Rombo. He sleeps there only 30, if very much, maybe 20 days in a year. Have my house in Kibosho. I sleep there only not more than 20 days in a year actually. But then under Airbnb, it can be occupied 100% actually. What I do, I put it in a platform, and I get my guests from Netherlands, from wherever, and say, okay, go Airbnb, pick my key from there, sleep there, give me my $100, you know. Can TRA capture these transactions? With Uber, for example, you know, those kind of stuff, and Taxify, it's more or less the similar issues. Now we are seeing even trainings, which due to technology, I no longer need a brick and mortar actually to run a school. You know, I could run a whole course, you know, let's say with things like, you know, through technology, without having brick and mortar, without TRA knowing exactly where I am, but still doing a lot of transactions. So what I'm saying, Taxman, Mr. Taxman, TRA for that matter, if you are to raise the revenue that is required to finance public goods and services, has also to go digital. A lot of transactions, as we are saying, are on blockchain. Money can be transferred on blockchain without being seen as actually. We are seeing a lot of what I call artificial intelligence, for example, and this is the example of robots, for example. Now you could see Sophia the robot. You know those who followed the technology. It was in Rwanda, I think. Yeah, they came Rwanda. Now Sophia the robot from Saudi Arabia. She was there, but it's a machine. You ask a question, he answers questions. They open door for you. They say, you know, are we ready to have mechanism and tools? Do we have the rates to tax, you know, this technology? And it is creating billions and billions of revenue for that matter. And, you know, we thought it was something remote, something from the US. It's no longer in Tanzania. Go to Ukerewe. Ukerewe is highly saved now by drones, actually. By drones, you know, for medical supplies, etc., etc. You know, those kind of stuff. You know, do we have a model to capture this service? Now, we have seen drones which are going commercial. I understand Norwegian Church Aid, for example. I'm not seeing some guys here. But then what Norwegian Church Aid is trying to pilot, for example, robots for commercial agriculture. When it comes to, you know, spraying, let's say, spraying your product, you no longer use the normal spray. If I use now this robot, is TRA, does it know the cost so that you can know the taxable amount, you know, and the mechanism? You know, it goes back actually, that's why I mentioned international taxation and issues of transfer pricing, issues of information asymmetry. I have the information, I have the cost. You know what I'm going to declare as cost? Is it really the real cost? You know, those kind of stuff. So in my view, really, Taxman, TRI for that matter, moving forward to where the economy is going, really has to know these things a lot, if you are to get the revenue in the future. You know, because these things are happening very quickly. So we are talking about technologies like wireless connectors, sensors, corporate wearables, etc., cloud computing. Now we are seeing the world now, due to fourth industrial revolution, we are talking about big data. Big data. There are companies whose business is the business of selling data. You know, do we know them? Do we see their cost of collecting data and their cost of selling data and their profit so that we know the taxable amount? So if you are not in this space, and a lot of companies will be moving there, you know, Facebook, etc., they are selling data. Now, the moment, for example, they internationalize and they do that trade in Tanzania, can we really get that revenue? So you can see I don't have so many answers, But then it's a question that I'm posing to the taxman, and maybe the next time, maybe we should have TRA to help us to see whether it's ready for this transaction. So I'm skipping again quite a number of issues here to come to implication to the tax profession, because at the end of the day, we would like to have our taxes. But then in order to have taxes collected, you need people in the tax space, in the tax authorities, in TRA, for example, who know how to tax this new sector. You know, as I said, when you talked about oil and gas, there was a lot of effort on oil and gas taxation. People went for their masters, for their PhDs on oil and gas taxation. Norwegian embassy, I know it has pumped a lot of money to build the capacity to tax oil and gas. When it comes to international taxation issues of transfer pricing, there's been a lot of effort. Now, we are having a new challenge. New sector is coming in, digital economy. Do we have people who can now tax digital economy? So I think, Chair, there is a need now to cope this, for TRA or this profession, to cope with this fundamental transformation in the fourth industrial revolution and the tax implication. I'm not sure the extent to which now Institute of Tax Administration, for example, for that matter, is reviewing its curricula so that its students who are going there can be given a dose on the fourth industrial revolution and these technologies. I've been an external examiner there. I've not seen really those kind of stuff. I did my taxation studies, when I did economics, I did taxation studies many years ago, maybe 25 years ago, something like that, almost 27 at Mzumbe. There was nothing like this, and it was okay. That was not the time. I was there, Fundisha. I see Professor Tundui there, he taught me. But then the technology by then was not. Now technology has come. Have we changed our curricula to mirror this new thing? If you are still teaching using the curriculum of the past 10, 20 years, while the situation on the ground has changed, will not provide tax professionals who are, up to date. So there is again a need of copying, and then key question that I'm asking again, you should be able to recognize all the products. For example, when it comes to transport, if we follow the normal taxi, there are quite a number of people with their private vehicles. My students at Mzumbe Dasram campus, they are all master students, so we have some classes until 22 hours actually, mid of the night, more or less. In the evening, they may change their private cars into Taxify, into Uber. And so they get clients, they get revenue and there is no tax that is being paid there. I could easily, and I know people who are doing that, as I told you, maybe you can also do your bungalow in Rombo. Instead of staying idle for, 90% of the day in a year, register it into Airbnb, you get revenue. But Mr. Taxman, I'm not sure whether he's aware that those things really can. I know in Moshe some people are doing this. Dar es Salaam, I know people are doing that. I was in Denmark last week. I know somewhere in southern Spain, people are doing this. And it's a huge source of revenue for those governments which have seen that, there are people who are using this model, Airbnb, Taxify, etc., to do business. And as I say here, there are new currencies, for example. Do we even know them? Facebook, only I think last 2-3 weeks or so, maybe a month, came with this new currency called the Libra. We have Bitcoin, we have Ethereum, there are quite a number. Now, if you come to tax me in your Tanzanian shillings, and I'm operating on a crypto-based currencies, do you know the convergences? Do you know the rates? I understand that, for example, Bitcoin has been going up and down, because sometimes there is what I'm saying, information asymmetry. Do you know the rates today? Do you know how Bitcoin operates? Do you know how Ethereum operates? Do you know how much profit I'm making so that you may tax me? And before you tax me, I'll tell you this is my cost, those kind of stuff. So really there are quite a number of unknowns. I might not have answers, but I think it's good that we come with this, conversations for the future. You could see under the fourth industrial revolution, economies now have been ran, the key issue now is brain power. It's knowledge economy. Our competitiveness as a country is no longer the physical assets. Will no longer be copper in Zambia, will no longer be our forest. Really, it's mainly brain. It's mainly brain. Now the question is, now that this is the thing, do we have, the needed brain power as tax professionals? Because, maybe we have trained a lot of people to tax gold and Ethereum, gold and land and forest and these properties. Now the taxpayer has changed, the economy, the base has changed. The economy is no longer based on these physical things that we trained. We trained a lot of people on oil and gas, but competitiveness will no longer be on oil and gas, it's beyond brain power. Now it's time again we move and train people to give them the brain power that is, that is needed, for taxation. For example, somewhere in my papers, I'm not going into detail, I have a number of skills, new skills that are coming, and these are mainly knowledge-based. Things like, coders, those kind of stuff, So the moment we don't have those people in our economy, I think it will be a problem. And here, Chair, that's again, I wanted to do a comparison with international taxation. Now, almost coming to the end is, we are seeing nature of companies that are changing with new business models. Now, again, is whether the taxman is ready or has updated to this year to do new thing. For example, if you're good to go to property again, specifically, people might be selling their hotels, and we see there are no more hotels, but actually people are doing hotel business as usual. I know someone who does a tax file in the morning, and he has rented, I think, 3 rooms in Dar es Salaam. The 3 rooms, but he occupies only 1 room. The other rooms are registered on Airbnb. So what you do with Airbnb, it's a platform, it's a platform, and then you just say, for this day, it's vacant. You come, you pay, I don't know, even if you pay $25, he or she gets a lot of money there, actually, and I'm sure it is not taxed. It is not taxed. Why? Partly because, in my view, maybe the taxman has not updated and moved into this. And it's normal. It's normal that normally revolution, not revolution, but then, there's changes. We'll always move ahead of time, I should have declared interest. I run my own online TV. This is Ngowi TV. So when we started, actually, we had some problem a little bit with TCRI because we are ahead of rules and regulations. And so actually, we are sometimes told you should not be broadcasting. Why? There are no rules and regulations. We say, actually, innovation will always go ahead of, ahead of innovation. So here, I think TRI should cope with these innovations. Yeah, somewhere, I think I'll be giving implication to authorities. As authorities, we should not prevent these innovations, but then we should cope, actually. We should run fast enough to collect the money before it's too late. So almost coming to the end, Chair, you could see here again, I'm going to, to the taxman, the implication, if you are to get revenue from all this digitalized economy, is we have to be what I call digital natives. You have to live in the world of digit. You have to be technology savvy in the context of taxation. Yeah, we may know all the computers, but then if you don't know the computer in the context of taxing the new business models, I think we'll be losing our times. So there is a need of what I call lifelong and life-wide learning. If we still go with the knowledge, I did taxation, some maybe 27 years ago. Now, if I still remain with that knowledge, while the situation on the ground has changed, I think we are not going to capture the revenue that we want. Again, I'm skipping some issues there because I think I've spoken about them. Is again, the need to be future ready, in taxation profession. Tax professions, we should prepare them to be future ready, This question of preparing someone to do tax today, I think we should also think about the way things have been changing. Only 5 years ago, when I'm saying we, but they are now the government, Norwegian embassy, and some other donors, UK, US, trained a lot to do oil and gas taxation. But it's no longer the hot cake now. The hot cake now is digital economy. So really, we should be moving, with all these technologies. Issues of needing to be very innovative, flexibility is very important. And of course, there's tax laws and policies and regulations should support innovation and flexibility. I've spoken about this one. And it's very important now to invest in tax human resources that reflects the situation that we are in today. That is the situation. If you are training guys who are doing at the Institute of Tax Administration, we should have in our mind that the situation of taxing, the business models have changed. We should keep this technology as part and parcel of their training. Yeah, for example, I understand that at the University of Dar es Salaam, they have a master's degree on taxation or something like that. I'm not sure the extent to which we are teaching them the fourth industrial revolution and the way it has changed all these business models. I'm very happy to see some relatively senior citizens who are very current on these issues. For example, last week I think we had quite a number of discussion on budget. You know, Balozi Ami Pungwe, he's very current on these issues and has been following. And Mzee Uto is following those kind of stuff. I know again Professor Luhanga, who is the chair of the Mzumbe Council, has written a lot. I think a volume almost maybe for the 3, and actually he has been my source of inspiration. I think last year only I gave over maybe 10, talks on the fourth industrial revolution in various contexts. I gave for NBA, for people in the procurement, for the banking sector, etc. So I think it's time we become aware that this thing really is very important if you are to get our revenue. For example, again here, when it comes to future of jobs, we need to have skills mix within TRA, for example, which should make sure that it understands very well this of the technology. Now, the challenge, or rather, the truth is, this challenge, the technology is mainly a thing of the youth. I call it the millennials. So I'm not saying let TRA retrench those of us with gray hair, but it's true that really it needs to recruit a lot of young people who are very savvy in technology, for that matter. Almost coming to the end, yes, it's a concluding remarks. That yes, we have seen these disruptive technologies which are changing everything, everywhere, including the tax space. Now, if we are not changing while the situation is changing, we'll not get the revenue that we want. And so we cannot avoid it. We may say it's it's a developed world thing, but actually it's a matter of time. Before last year I was saying it's a matter of time before it comes here. Now, after following up, and actually my students now, I ask them a lot to follow up with these things. That's why I know Norwegian Church Aid is now having, it had, I think last year, two robots, wants to do them in agriculture. I understand Ukerewe has been saved a lot. Now we saw Sophia, the robot, in Rwanda. Now, when these things are very real in our own world, we should not think it's something to come. But the good thing is maybe it's not everything that is moving towards fourth industrial revolution at once. At speed, we still see some elements actually of the third industrial revolution, which is, I think, the majority issues of a computer. But then the most important is we should keep operating, or rather taxing, in some of these elements, but then we should have in our mind the fourth industrial revolution technology. We should see that things are changing a lot. Coming to the end is, at the minimum, we need to know what all this is, and maybe we need to raise more revenue. I understand a lot of institutions are now going through this. And the last thing is tax authorities, for example, TRA, needed to give strategic leadership on the fourth industrial revolution issues in the tax space, because that is what TRA knows a lot on tax. Now it has to tell us, or it has to listen from experts with these technologies that are changing everything, that's changing tax base, changing the way business has been done. Really, there's likely to be a lot of actually not tax evasion, even tax avoidance, due to this technology. So it has to be up to the game. So with this, Chair, I conclude and thank you.